this is a pre-launch episode for the gut tank, and I thought that it would only be right to base this inaugural episode on World IBD Day. So I actually didn't even realize there was a World IBD Day, and I just so happened to stumble upon the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation website. And I don't know how I even did this. It was just a few days ago. And I happened to find out May 19th is World IBD Day. And they released, even before May 19th, a PDF. And this PDF is called IBD is More Than the Gut. And I thought it was ironic that they said IBD is more than the gut while I'm about to launch the Gut Tank podcast. But actually, after taking a little peek at it, I realized, oh, this is really, really valuable information. Here, actually, from the website, they mentioned World IBD Day unites the global community to raise awareness for Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. This year, we're focusing on the realities that often go unseen, including how stress, pain, relationships, and mental health shape daily life with IBD. During Mental Health Awareness Month, we're bringing these conversations forward. Feeling overwhelmed or unseen? Let's go there. Managing stress, pain, or relationship challenges? Let's go there. Ready to find strength and connection? Let's go there. That's why we created the More Than the Gut Guide, a resource with expert insights, evidence-based coping tools, and real talk from the IBD community. And so it also mentions created with GI psychologists and the IBD community. This guide shares practical tools, expert insights, and lived experiences to help people with Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis navigate stress, relationships, and the emotional side of life with IBD. So what I would like to do is dive into this PDF today, and this is really the first time I'm looking through it, so you can really get my genuine reaction to this PDF that the foundation put out. Okay, so looking at this first page, it mentions IBD is more than the gut. Living with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis affects far more than the digestive system, shaping mental and emotional health, relationships, school, work, and daily routines. Common challenges like stigma, anxiety, depression, pain, and fatigue can make life feel overwhelming. In fact, people with IBD are 3 to 5 times more likely to experience anxiety and 2 to 4 times more likely to experience depression than the general population. These feelings and experiences are understandable and valid. With the right support, skills, and tools, daily life can feel more manageable. This guide shares practical, expert-backed strategies from talking about your diagnosis and pacing your energy to managing stress, calming the nervous system, and asking for what you need. Then if we go down, we can see the table of contents. So, I mean, this is a lot of, just looking at it off the bat, a lot of valuable information. And again, this doesn't have to be for someone who's diagnosed with IBD, because for a few years, and in the first official episode, I'm going to dive more into this, but I didn't know I had IBD. I was living with these symptoms, having no idea even what Crohn's disease was. So I think for people who don't even have a diagnosis yet, this could also be valuable information. But let's dive into it and see what it's all about. So here it says tip number 1, how to tell someone you have IBD. Sharing your diagnosis can feel scary. Many people living with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis worry about stigma, embarrassment, or being seen as too much. GI psychologist Megan Reel has guided many people with IBD through conversations with partners, friends, coworkers, teachers, and others who matter in their lives. She encourages patients to prepare ahead of time and remember that they are in control of their story. Before the conversation, ask yourself, what is my need in this conversation? Accommodation, understanding, or emotional support? Not everyone needs to know every detail. You get to decide who needs to know, what they need to know, and how much you want to share. So I think this is great because, it can be very intimidating to share about your diagnosis with other people. Especially, I don't want to say most, but a lot of people might not know what these conditions are. Unless you yourself are experiencing it, it's not always easy to really share it with someone, as they may not be able to relate, right? And you don't know what's too much. Am I sharing too much about this? But here it mentions about conversation starters. So here it says some people in your life may need practical information. For example, a boss or teacher who needs to provide accommodations. Others, such as close friends or partners, may simply need to learn how to support you. And here it just has some different quotes on how you can speak to the different types of people in your life. And I think this is great. This is great. It's like giving you like a little script so that you can know exactly what to say in these different scenarios. And, we all need support. We need people in our lives who understand what's going on. Especially in my experience, I found that without telling people, as much as you kind of don't want to share about your diagnosis sometimes because it maybe makes you feel vulnerable, makes you feel weak, makes you just uncomfortable to share maybe these personal details. But it can also create misunderstandings. When you have to suddenly run to the bathroom several times a day, or you have to take all these different medications, and people are looking at you like, why are you taking all those meds? And it's a little bit overkill, right? If they don't understand, it can create some misunderstanding. And of course, it all depends. There's a lot of dynamics. It depends on who you're talking to, what the relationship is. There's a lot that can go into it. But I think addressing it with the people who are very close in your life, like close to you in your life, I think is very important. So I think this is great. And then if we go down here, I'm not going to read everything, so you can go through it yourself. Here, tip number 2, activity pacing. Plan for what matters most. So here it says you don't have to choose between doing everything and doing nothing. Activity pacing helps you prioritize what matters and plan around symptoms. Start with this question. If I can't do everything, what is one thing I don't want to miss? And how can I support myself to be there? So I think this is great because these are debilitating diseases, right? And the reality is, depending on the severity of your condition, maybe you can't do everything. Maybe you can only do half of what you used to do or what you want to do. Maybe you can do most of the things that you would normally do or like to do, but it may limit you in some capacity to be able to do it to the fullest, right? So these are all things to consider. And I feel like I kind of have adapted my lifestyle to this. So here, this has a pretty cool checklist here. It says plan your week. List your upcoming events. Circle the 2 that matter most. Plan rest beforehand. Choose meals that feel manageable. Pack medications or supplies. Identify public restrooms with the We Can't Wait restroom finder app. I have to look into that. And create a backup plan. And then here it says, sometimes leaving early or missing part of an event isn't failure. It's intentional recharge time that helps you protect your energy. And I think that's great. We may feel pressure that if we go to some event or some social gathering that we have to stay until the very end. But given, your condition, that might not be possible, right? And this is not just for people with IBD. Again, if If you're feeling sick and tired, don't push yourself, right? Know your body, know yourself. And I think planning your week out ahead like this is great, especially in terms of like thinking about the food you want to eat, because everyone knows, when you go to these social gatherings, it's probably most likely not going to have the food that's probably best for you, according to your own biology and what you need. And so planning that ahead of time can be really helpful, making sure your medications are ready. I like to pre-pack my medications. I have like those little containers for Sunday through Saturday, and just get those done like on Sunday before the week. So I don't have to think about it. They're already ready. And that's not only medication. I take herbal remedies, and I also take different kinds of supplements and vitamins. So whatever you have, whatever is helping you, make sure you plan that out. And then don't feel like you have to be a superhero, that you have to do everything. And then, prioritize your health, because without your health, then there's not much else you can do. And so, we all have our different challenges and whatnot. So whatever that requires you to do, I think these are great tips though. And then tip number 3, here it says, cognitive reframing, changing the story in your head. When symptoms are unpredictable, it's easy for the mind to jump to worst case scenarios. Thoughts like, if I flare, everything will be ruined, can increase stress and amplify physical symptoms through the gut-brain connection. This type of all or nothing thinking can make situations feel more overwhelming than they are. Over time, it can create what experts call the GI stress cycle, where worry increases body tension and gut sensitivity, which can worsen symptoms. And I fully believe that. It's a proven fact that when you worry and you have an anxiety, it has a direct effect on your body, including the GI tract. So, that's why even, a lot of performers, for example, before they're about to go on stage and perform, all of a sudden they have to use the bathroom, right? And it's because those nerves are kicking in and sending signals down to the gut. And so this is really interesting because it's really mind over matter in a way, and taking control over your thoughts. And through that, you can actually have a positive effect on your body and the outcome of what's going on in your body. So I think this is really powerful. So here it mentions, try this 3-step reframing tool. Number 1, notice the thought. What story is your mind telling you? Number 2, ask yourself, what are the facts and what is fear-based? 3, rewrite the thought. Original thought. If I don't feel well on vacation, the whole trip will be ruined. Well, that's a pretty terrible thought, right? Reframed thought. If I need to rest for part of the trip, that's okay. I can still enjoy the moments that matter. And I think that's a great way to look at it. Even when I travel, I think about that in a similar way, right? That, I'm going to need some time to recuperate, to rest, not push myself too much, and just enjoy the traveling, enjoy life, in the moment, right? And not be too resentful if I couldn't go to this site or something like that, right? So I think this is a great way to look at it. So this is pretty good stuff here. Tip number 4, it says sleep, gentle movement, and nourishing your body. This is great. I already like it. So here, it says pain and fatigue are common experiences for people living with IBD. In fact, up to 50% of people with IBD report ongoing abdominal pain. People living with IBD may experience various types of pain, including joint, back, eye, mouth, and perianal pain. Managing these symptoms often requires finding the right balance between rest, movement, and nourishment. For many people living with IBD, managing pain requires a both and approach, both resting and moving, and both listening to your body and staying in conversation with your care team. Then here it says, ask yourself, what is one small change I can try this week? A 10-minute walk, a calming pre-bedtime routine, or a conversation with my provider about pain. And I think these are all great small steps that you can take. Maybe try going to bed like even a half hour earlier than you normally would if you like to stay up late, right? And it can make a big difference for you. Getting in that 10-minute walk after lunch, that can be huge. And then little by little, you can ramp it up and then turn that into a good habit. So I think this is a great tip as well. And then number 5, exploring gut-directed hypnotherapy and pain relief tools. So this one is interesting, hypnotherapy. For many people with IBD, pain is influenced not only by inflammation, but also how the nervous system processes signals from the gut. Tools such as gut-directed hypnotherapy, guided relaxation, and breathing exercises can help regulate communication between the gut and the brain, easing stress-related digestive symptoms and reducing both gut-related and overall pain. The brain plays a central role in how pain signals are processed, and retraining this response through relaxation or hypnotherapy techniques can help further decrease discomfort. Gut-directed hypnotherapy is an evidence-based treatment designed to calm the gut-brain connection and reduce visceral hypersensitivity, the heightened pain signaling that can occur in the digestive tract. So this is really interesting. I'm not too familiar with hypnotherapy. I mean, I know of it, but as it relates to Crohn's disease or colitis, I'm not too familiar. I definitely would like to kind of dive more into that and learn a little bit more about that. And then here, tip number 6, here it says, ask for accommodations and set boundaries. So this one I had actually taken a sneak peek at before, and I thought this was great information here. It says many people hesitate to ask for accommodations at work or school. These supports help create a more equal opportunity to succeed. Kayla White, member of the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation's National Council of College Leaders and social media ambassador, was diagnosed with IBD at 17 during her junior year of high school. With support from her school's Disability Services Office, she later implemented accommodations in college, including flexibility with attendance, extended time on assignments and exams, and permission to bring snacks to class so she could continue her education while managing unpredictable symptoms. So I think this is really big, and I think that's something that in the future we're going to see more of. As well, the hope is that we can eliminate these cases more and more, but as you look at the the charts, you can see people with IBD are growing, right? This is a growing population, and these voices are going to be heard, right? And we're going to demand these kind of accommodations. I mean, technically, we're disabled, so I think this is really important. I love that they have these ambassadors who are taking these big steps for people who technically have these disabilities and who need these accommodations in order to be able to excel, whether it's in school or at their job. So I think this is a great tip, and I think it's something that's still in development as we speak. And then tip number 7, practice diaphragmatic breathing to calm your gut. So here it says, when stress spikes, the body can quickly shift into a fight, flight, freeze response, which can speed up gut motility and amplify gut sensations through the gut-brain connection. Learning how to slow the breath, helps signal safety to the nervous system and can interrupt this stress loop. GI physiologist Tiffany Duffing, PhD, often teaches diaphragmatic breathing as a simple way to calm the nervous system and interrupt the stress response. You can try the short exercise anytime you need to reset your body and mind. Yeah, so I mean, breathing is extremely important, right? I mean, it makes a lot of sense that breathing can kind of reset your system, put you into a state of relaxation. I know with certain bedtime sleep meditations, the narrator will kind of tell you to take very slow, deep breaths, and it actually makes your heart rate slower, right? And puts you into a state of relaxation. So I can see how this would be really beneficial, even for the gut as well. This pretty much brings us to the end of this PDF. Here it says, progress starts with all of us. Double your impact, share your story, take action. And this is kind of just a call to action to get involved with the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. So I hope all this was helpful. You know, you might have been diagnosed recently with Crohn's or colitis. You might just be dealing with IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, and you may not know how to deal with it. And maybe you're just having gut issues in general. We don't know exactly what causes a lot of these, but you know, there's tools out there that can help. So I'm really glad I could share this, and please stay tuned for the next official episode of the Gut Tank podcast, and we'll discuss more about. Well, I personally will discuss more about my own story, how I got to where I am, what I've done over the past decade to mitigate and to try to resolve my symptoms, and in the hope that maybe it can inspire you to try something maybe you haven't tried before, right? This is really just to open up a dialogue of conversation about IBD. I think more and more this is something that a lot of people can relate to. Maybe some people have not wanted to talk about it, but on some level, we're all being affected by the food we eat, the environment we live in, chemicals that we're exposed to. And it's important to get this conversation out there. So thank you so much again for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.